appointments opened up and within 8 hours they were full. So that tells me that Hoosiers are still wanting to get vaccinated.
Now at 5, the first mass vaccination site opens on the campus of DePaul University. What vaccinations are looking like in rural counties.
More chaos in Washington, D.C. A Capitol police officer is killed when a driver rams a vehicle into a barricade. We are following the latest developments.
And then new developments in the search for the woman accused of stealing a vehicle with a child inside in Lawrence.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 5, streaming now.
First at 5, we are following a developing story from Washington, D.C. tonight. A United States Capitol police officer is dead after a suspect rammed their car into a barricade at the Capitol this afternoon. The officer has been identified as William Billy Evans. Another officer is hurt too. Now, police say they opened fire after the driver jumped out of the car with a knife. That driver is also dead. Investigators are still trying to figure out if this was intentional or planned. National Guardsmen lined up to respond when that incident took place around 1:30 p.m. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has ordered flags to be lowered to half-staff in honor of the officer who died. You can find any new developments in this story on the WRTV app and on World News with David Muir at 6:30. Good evening and welcome in here on this Friday evening. The effort to vaccinate Hoosiers is growing. Today was the first mass vaccination clinic in our area that could help get more shots into the arms of college students and people in rural communities.
WRTV's Stephanie Wade shows us the effort in Greencastle on the campus of DePaul University.
All day Friday, vaccines are being given out on the campus of DePaul University. In partnership with the Putnam County Health Department and Hendricks Regional Health, they're vaccinating nearly 1,900 people in one day.
This is like the biggest celebration party ever. For a year, in the very beginning, that was our hope that they would come up with a vaccine to help cure or stop COVID. And when we found out that they had a vaccine in the making, that was overjoyous for us because we thought we could see that light at the end of the tunnel.
The Putnam County Health Department saying they haven't seen as much resistance to the vaccine as reported in other rural areas across the country.
We have not seen that at all. Our appointments have consistently remained booked for 2 to 3 and sometimes even 4 weeks out in advance. People are excited about this vaccine. They know it's a safe vaccine.
Many who are getting vaccinated at the clinic are college students and people who drove in from surrounding counties to receive their one-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
The way I think about it is the more people that are vaccinated, the quicker that this country, or at least me speaking from just being on campus, the sooner my campus can open back up and we can kind of get back to what semi-normal life will look like. Yeah, you might have a few side effects from this shot, but I think in the long run it's only going to benefit everyone, and sometimes you got to take a step back and think of other people around you.
Stephanie Wade, WRTV.
And DePaul University officials are encouraging all of their students to get the vaccine, but like other colleges in Indiana, they are not requiring one.
Well, and the mass vaccination clinic continues right now at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, giving you a live look at IMS from our Pagoda camera. This is the second day of appointment days at the track this month. The goal here is to administer 6,000 doses of the one-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine per day. The next day with available appointments is April 25th. There are slots open the 25th through the 30th, by the way. The state announced today that appointments are now available for a mass vaccination clinic in Gary that runs April 7th through June 2nd. You can go to ourshot.in.gov to schedule an appointment, or you can call 211.
And the Colts and Myers stores are coming together for another mass vaccination effort today. They announced a free vaccination clinic will take place at Lucas Oil Stadium. They will administer the first dose of the Moderna vaccine on April 23rd and 24th. Second doses will be given there to the same people on May 21st and 22nd. The vaccine supply is limited to 2,000 per day. Appointments will be first come, first served. You also have to pre-register for an appointment. You do not go through the state's website for this. We have information on how to register right now in this story at WRTV.com. And as of this morning, nearly 1.2 million Hoosiers are fully vaccinated. The state also reports more than 1,200 new cases. That's the third day in a row that number has been above 1,000. The 7-day positivity rate stayed steady at 4%, and 20 more people have died with COVID-19. Those deaths occurred between December 15th and yesterday.
Keeping an eye on mental health is more crucial than ever during the pandemic. Now there's a new app that is making it easier to check on friends and family. It was tested with mental health experts in Indiana. WRTV's Troy Washington opens the cultural conversation on mental health.
The pandemic has wreaked havoc on many people's mental health, and it's not always easy to talk about it.
Over the last year, I've been losing people left and right.
Ali Gates is a co-founder of the You Good app. He says his heart was heavy, and even when he tried to shut the world out, one friend wouldn't let him.
It was quite a lot. And so when Evans checked in on me, I felt that there was a sense of sort of a light bulb moment that went off.
That friend was Evans Anyawu, the other co-founder of the app. In standing by each other, the friends stumbled upon a concept that is taking off.
The app allows you to say a lot without saying a lot. And that's a part of Black culture. You know, this was intentional. Like when we walk in a room as Black folks, you know, our head nod says a lot.
So how does it work?
The app syncs your contacts, so your phone contacts, whether you're an iOS user or Android user, syncs all of your contacts. And those contacts who are registered users on You Good, they share their mood each time they launch the app, right? So every time you launch the app checks in on you and say, hey, Troy, what's your mood today? Red obviously means you're not in a good mood. Yellow means that you're in an okay mood. Green means you're in a good mood.
From there, you can double tap on the image like you would on, say, Instagram. From there, you can send a response.
Then you have these pre-selected replies that appear. And these replies have been something that we spent a great deal of time, you know, sort of like thinking about what replies are needed.
They say the app doesn't pry. It's a subtle but effective approach to checking in.
We allow the person to do what our culture sometimes doesn't allow us to do, which is like fully express.
Working for you, Troy Washington, WRTV.
The app is free and can be downloaded on your smartphone from the App Store.
Temperature this morning, 22 degrees. No historical credit, no record. And sunshine came to the rescue quickly, and that bounced our temperature into the upper 40s. Do you see a cloud in the sky? You shouldn't, and if we do, they'd just be high, thin clouds. The closest clouds, North Dakota, northern Minnesota into southern Canada. We're surrounded by sunshine, and not just for today, but tomorrow. Lots of sunshine Sunday and Monday as well. We're on cruise control as far as our weather's concerned. Temperatures in the upper 40s right now, but keep in mind, we started so cold in the lower 20s. That's not bad. Where is the warmth going to come from? Obviously, west of the Mississippi. We'll change our wind direction, and that will change the way you're able to dress as we go into the weekend. Temperatures as we go through the night will fall back below freezing, 31 in the spots in the morning. 62, the high temperature tomorrow, not close to the warmest temperature in my forecast. Find out when that will arrive coming up.
The suspect in a carjacking and abduction of a child this week in Lawrence is now under arrest. This is video from where the carjacking happened Wednesday morning. Police now say Brandy Baining was taken into custody yesterday after a brief chase involving IMPD officers and another stolen vehicle. Baining is accused of stealing a Honda Pilot Wednesday that had been left running outside a Lawrence gas station. Officers say Baining told them she did not know a 10-year-old boy was asleep inside the SUV and that she later parked it and left the vehicle running with the heat on after discovering the boy. The child was not injured.
The first week of testimony wrapped up today in the Derek Chauvin trial, the former Minneapolis police officer accused of murdering George Floyd. Today, some of Chauvin's former colleagues took the stand and testified against him. Court TV's Chandler Painter has the latest from Minneapolis.
On day 5 of the Derek Chauvin murder trial, the jury heard from 2 Minneapolis police officers before the judge let the jury out early for Good Friday. First, the jury heard from Sergeant John Edwards, one of 3 supervisors who arrived to the scene of 38th in Chicago to investigate outside the cut food store. Sergeant Edwards testified that when he arrived to secure the scene, he told Officer King and Lane to turn on their body cameras.
When I arrived there, I was met by Officer King first. First thing I did was I told him, hey, if your body-worn camera is not on, turn it on now. He did. Officer Lane came out of the car several seconds afterwards. told the same thing to him.
But even more powerful testimony came from homicide detective Richard Zimmerman, the most senior officer of the Minneapolis Police Department.
Pulling him down to the ground, face down, and putting your knee on the neck for that amount of time is just uncalled for.
Zimmerman was one of 14 officers who wrote an open letter last June condemning Derek Chauvin's actions. That's the latest from here in downtown Minneapolis. I'm Chanley Painter with Court TV.
Testimony resumes Monday. To watch live all-day coverage of this trial, keep the tab open at courttv.com, where you can watch the trial unfold in real time.
And then there were four, the day before the Final Four at Lucas Oil Stadium. I'm Brad Brown. We'll take a look at Friday's practice session, get you set for the big games this weekend downtown.
Graduation will feel a bit more like normal for students on one Indiana college campus, what Purdue announced today.
KeyBank opens doors.
Students graduating this year from Purdue University in West Lafayette will have an in-person ceremony, and guests will be allowed. Undergrad students, professional candidates, and master's degree candidates will participate in a ceremony at 10 a.m. May 15th at Ross-Ade Stadium. And the graduate school will have its PhD ceremony at 10 a.m. May 16th in the Elliott Hall of Music. Each graduate will be allowed 2 guest tickets. There will be assigned seating in both venues, and tickets are not transferable. The release of tickets will be announced the week of May 10th.
4 games, 4 teams, 3 games, 1 champion left to be crowned. Downtown Indy is coming alive with the energy of another NCAA Final Four weekend. And while it won't be quite as large as years past, the games still mean a lot of schools involved. Brad Brown was there today as each time got one final workout.
Final Four Friday at Lucas Oil Stadium as the last quartet standing gets set to play in the national semifinals as we work our way toward the end of this March Madness, now into this first weekend of April in Indianapolis. Brad Brown back here with you as we are getting set for the 2 games that are left. Houston, Baylor, Gonzaga, UCLA are the 4 teams that make it to this final weekend after this long journey that's taken them all over Indianapolis, all over the state of Indiana. We've seen some great games over the course of the last couple of weekends, and the fans that'll be here this weekend hoping we see 2 more on Saturday to set the matchup for Monday's national championship game. UCLA might be the Cinderella story of this one. The 11th seed Bruins, they'll get a chance to tangle with unbeaten and number 1 seed Gonzaga on Saturday night. UCLA with a touch of John Wooden magic, perhaps a little Hoosier flavor in this one.
They play a tournament for a winner, so we're here to try to win try to finish off what we've started here and try to find a way to stay alive for Monday night, but it's not going to be easy. We understand how good Gonzaga is.
All right, of course, the task is large for the Bruins as they face 30-0 Gonzaga. The Bulldogs 2 more wins, and they'll match Indiana's 1976 unbeaten run of 32-0 if they can claim a national title. Coming up tonight on the news at 6, we will have a little more Indiana flavor for you. Butler grad, Valparaiso native Scott Drew has Baylor in the other of those national semifinal matchups. We'll show you how the Bears are getting ready for it and get you set for a big basketball weekend here in downtown Indianapolis. At the Final Four at Lucas Oil Stadium, Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.
And Brad, nothing says welcome to town for all of our out-of-town guests like a blue sky, and that will be there for the weekend. It's going to be dry from now into early next week. We're at 46 in Indy now. We came up from 22 this morning, 48 in Muncie and Bloomington, which you're looking at there with our Weather Now camera. The wind will calm down tonight, and it will pick up during the day tomorrow. Say hello to Bubba. Abby Maddox sent in this picture. It's my job to take Bubba for a walk, and you can see he's already waiting for me on the front porch step. Won't be quite as cool this evening. Temperatures, they'll drop to 38 by the time we get to 11 o'clock. By the way, Bubba lives in Hancock County in New Powell. 30 in Logansport and Marion. So not as cold tonight, but still below freezing in many spots. If you have some sensitive plants, you may want to cover them up, but you can probably get away with not doing that tonight because it won't be as prolonged a period and temperatures won't be as cold. Temperatures over the next several mornings are on a warming trend. Pretty obvious. Early next week, 52. That's the low temperature on Tuesday. We have low temperatures warmer than that on the way. Tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny. Temperatures move from around 60 to the north into the low 60s in central Indiana. Magic number on Sunday, Easter Sunday, 68. That wind direction out of the southwest will carry the warmer temperatures that I showed you at the beginning of the newscast that sit west of the Mississippi and drag those into central Indiana. 59's our average high, a little above that during the day tomorrow. 62 degrees, 64 in Columbus, again with tons of sunshine around. A little warmer on Sunday morning, 43 degrees, 59 at noon, and the afternoon temperature warms to 68, just a few fair weather clouds. That's really about it. Other temperatures range from the upper 60s to potentially the lower 70s in the southern portion of the state. Early next week, we'll crank it up a little more. Temperatures just continue to climb, as you can see. Our next chance for rain arrives as we get to Wednesday, but the best chance of rain may hold off until Thursday, and that's when we may have some thunderstorms around. That would be 69 degrees, and when we cool back down, notice it's only into the mid-60s. Nothing shocking in the forecast, either too warm or too cold, but we're rarely in a state of perfection. So I don't know what I've really just said there, but have a good weekend. Amanda?
Works for me, Kevin. You too. This week, the governor signed into law a bill that would keep schools from losing funding if they had large numbers of virtual students due to the pandemic. But some educators are worried about whether they will still be losing money down the road as part of the new state budget. Our political insiders break down the debate over which dollars go to Indiana's public and private schools.
It's very concerning for not just Democrats, but educators across the state, parents as well. And it's because they've learned what House Bill 1005 originally was supposed to do, which was allot a third of the state's education budget for an unregulated school choice system that effectively just is just a drain on resources. And what happens is that public schools get the short end of the stick. And specifically those rural schools and urban schools that have consistently seen their funding be decreased over, the supermajority's reign at the State House. It's alarming. And it's just because more students in public schools, which is, represents about 94% of all students in the state, they're going to see money drained all because of a partisan pet project.
Well, excuse me if I respectfully disagree with my good friend, Drew here. First of all, number one, in Indiana, the philosophy is that money follows the student. That is a core principle of how we pay for schools in the state of Indiana. And because we pay for schools with money following the student, if students go to the traditional public school, that's where the money goes. If it goes to the charter school or voucher school, that's where the money goes. And something to keep in mind is even if there were no charter schools, no voucher schools, public schools would not get any more money because guess what? They would have more students. And more students means more expenses. So this theory that public schools are losing out, traditional public schools rather, are losing out to charters and voucher schools because of dollars and cents, that's not necessarily the case. Now, we can talk about more money for schools, which Republicans have done record funding over the past 10 years. I mean, another $377 million and some change are what's going to be in the hopper once the Senate gets their version all said and done. But once again, in Indiana, money follows the student. So if the student were to go to traditional public school, that's another kid they got to educate, so their expenses go up as well.
And the General Assembly is due to wrap up no later than April 29th. Hoosiers helping Hoosiers. It's always been our way of life, but even more so during the pandemic. Tonight, looking back on a Johnson County business that really stepped up in a big way.
COVID-19 is something we've been living and dealing with and adapting to for more than a year now, and practically since day one, we've seen Hoosiers come together to help our neighbors in need. Our reporters have enjoyed sharing those stories of neighbor helping neighbor, businesses also facing tough times but still reaching out to do what they can. As we ask our journalists to reflect on stories they've covered that really stand out to them, WRTV's Lauren Casey points to a business in Franklin.
I went to downtown Franklin, which I'm super familiar with, and got to go to Richard's Pizza Kitchen, where they basically closed down their restaurant and they just turned it into a kitchen, like a food pantry. And so there were volunteers in there, and they were making giant vats of food and casseroles, and then they were opening it up to anyone in the public. You didn't need proof. Come and get a warm meal at the end of the day if you need it.
You know, everybody's in the same boat here, and we have the ability, so we want to fill the need. We just come to the car and say how many.
Yes, we are. How many do you have? And just standing out in their parking lot, seeing people and talking to them as they were going in about how appreciative they were that people were giving them this free food. That really stuck out in my mind as just how people were able to pivot, and a restaurant became basically a food kitchen for people in the community in need.
The community has, you know, everybody's stepping up. Let's take care of each other.
I think even though it's been really difficult going through this pandemic and these tough times, it's also been encouraging to see how we all kind of drop everything and come together for the good of the whole community.
Well, in just about the first month of offering those free meals last year, Richard served more than 7,600 meals to people in need. Richard's Brick Oven Pizza on Main Street in Franklin is now open for regular business from 5 to 9 Tuesday through Saturday. Good to see that. A family sleeping when a bullet pierces their apartment window. Why this window now represents so much frustration, and it goes beyond the bullet. That's new at 6 p.m.
And still ahead on the news at 5:30, something we haven't said in months. The streets of One Central Indiana City will be filled with runners tomorrow. The race and what's being done to keep everyone safe.